Hello everyone, in this video we'll be demonstrating the isEmpty method, and this method basically returns true if the string we are checking is empty, otherwise it returns false. So let's show how that works. I'm going to start off by declaring an empty string. So we'll call this a string 1, and to declare an empty string is just basically double quotations like this, and then I'll declare another string, declare a string with an assigned value. So we need to rename this, call it a string 2, and I'll just give a value of some value. And then our third variable will be called a string 3, and it will have multiple spaces. So I'm just going to tab a couple of times just so that we can get a string with spaces. Now I might actually print out the strings before we check if they're empty or not. Let's see what we get. Okay, I've gone a little bit quiet, but I'm basically just wanting to print out all of these 3 strings. So initially this is an empty string, and I might actually get rid of these because I don't want to have any spaces, just to show you what we've got. So this is just an empty string. This is a string that's got this value, and our third one is got this large space there. Okay, now what we want to do is we are going to check all of these strings just to check if they are empty or not. So I might just change the way this, so is a string empty, and maybe I'll have a space there. Our second string and our third string. And then to invoke the isEmpty method, we say dot, and then we check, we choose the isEmpty method if the compiler you're using helps you with that. Otherwise, just type it out. And so just note that this is actually a method because it is invoked through the dot using the object reference, which is basically our string. So let's see what we get printed out. So we did say in the beginning that if the string is empty, this returns true, but if it is not empty, it returns false. So our first string is actually empty, so this gave us true. Our second string has got some value, so that gave us false. And our third string has spaces, so that's not empty, so that gave us false. Now I've got a question here though, is what if we strip the spaces of the third string? What will the result of calling isEmpty be? So I'm going to store the value of the returned string that comes back from calling the strip method against our third string, basically like that. So what this does is it returns a stripped string, and that means I've actually explained this method in the previous video, but what it does, it gets rid of any leading spaces or trailing spaces from a string. Since this is all spaces, so this is actually going to get rid of all the spaces. So it should really give us something like that, which is an empty string. Okay, so I might just reduce the amount of spaces that we got there so that we can demonstrate it better. And then let's call the empty string, sorry, the empty method of that stripped value, return stripped value. Okay, so isEmpty after strip, maybe it just, yeah, maybe it speaks for itself because we know this is the stripped version. And then over here, just make sure, we need to make sure that we actually call the stripped version just like this. And I would like to actually also print out that stripped string, just like this, just to see what it looks like. We won't really see much, but we'll be still able to know what happened. So over here, we got our, we've explained all of these. So initially we know why these are all true, false, false. But then the stripped string, is it empty? Yes, now it is empty because we've gotten rid of all the spaces through the strip method. But then let's try to select it. There's nothing in there. So initially over here, before we've stripped it, we were able to select the space. But then after we've stripped the value, we call the strip method. So we've gotten rid of all the spaces. So when we print this out, I can't select anything because it's just an empty string. So now it's kind of equivalent to our first string. And this is why we get true for the stripped version. Okay, so I hope this helps you when using the isEmpty method. And of course, we talked about the strip method in the previous video, but this also gives you an idea about the strip method if you haven't watched the previous video. And I'll see you in future ones. Thank you.